Joel enrolls in Nevermore by Miraculously Unknown. Joel enrolls in Nevermore to surprise Wednesday, making a side nobody has ever seen before come out. Chapter 1. Kara Mia. Joel Glicker was currently vibrating in his seat right now, in the back of the Addams' car, on his way to Nevermore to see Wednesday. The older Addams all over each other, his head turned to face away from the couple kissing each other and whispering sweet promises to each other. Joel hasn't seen Wednesday since Camp Chippewa, as he and Wednesday shared their first kiss through the fence. Wednesday left behind the camp in flames, and Joel's heart was crushed in her pale little palm. But at last Joel's pain shall be over, as they pulled up to Nevermore's gates. "You must be so excited to see her," Morticia Addams said, a tight-lipped smile on her lips. Joel nodded his head. "I've thought nothing but of her on the way here. How can he think of anything else?" When Wednesday was right behind the gates, Gomez Addams was ecstatic, as he and Joel's parents agreed to let him go to Nevermore. Gomez wanted nothing more than his daughter and his future son-in-law to fall in love at the said school, as he and his beloved did. "Oh, you will swoon, our Wednesday's little black heart. Me, yer know." Joel nodded. Lurch opened the door for the family, and they stepped out. Joel fixed his shirt, taking a deep breath from his inhaler. The sun was bright out, and Joel wondered what Wednesday thought of the weather. She preferred thunder and rain, the clouds covering the sun, leaving a dark mist in the sky. Lurch grunted out, "Oorah." Joel smiled. "Thank you. Luck will be needed." Gomez and Joel walked into the school, not knowing what was in store for them. Meanwhile, on the other side of the school, in the middle of the quad, the Pentagon Wednesday says, were Enid, Wednesday, Yoko, Davina, Ajax, Bianca, Eugene, and Xavier. They were having breakfast. Not all were. Wednesday was staring off into space, the book in front of her. Wednesday! She was snapped out of her head by the squealing sound of her roommate Enid Sinclair. She stared at her once startled face, quickly changing it back to plain. "My apologies. Repeat what you said. I wasn't in the right mind." The monotone voice said, "We have a new student. They said he was a normie, but it doesn't make sense. When you came, you seemed normal, cut off by Yoko. Normal? Yeah, right, she looked like a walking corpse." "Thank you. That wasn't a compliment. You are spooky, Addams." The table laughed, except for Wednesday, of course. "What's got you in your head anyways?" the artist asked. Wednesday stared at him, saying nothing. Was it murder? They all waited for a response. "Was it me?" Xavier said in a sly tone. Wednesday's nose wrinkled in disgust. "Say that ever again, and I shall gouge your eyes out with spoons and let Grandmama eat them." Xavier then stopped laughing, his face falling. "You Grandma eats people." "Occasionally, anyway, as I was interrupted before, I heard he was slightly nerdy, allergic to mostly everything, and he can make people tell the truth with his powers." Eugene's eyes slightly squint. "Is that true? Like anything?" "Don't be ridiculous." "That's not true, not possible." Bianca says, "It is quite possible." The goth says, without looking up from her book, "How would you know?" Wednesday looks up from her books, annoyed. "My Uncle Fester taught me of abilities at a very young age. The power is rare, but still likely to have—" "Is that not a siren? Like you control people?" Enid asked. Wednesday shook her head slightly. "The power of a siren is limited. Unlike the boy's power we speak of, you can't lie at all. And there's no siren song. In the presence of the power, you simply tell the truth." The group all nod, listening to Wednesday's little lecture on the new power. "You think the new boy is cute?" Davina asks. Wednesday stopped listening after that question. Joel was handed his uniform, Gomez on his right side. Principal Weems was going over his records of other schools. As I expected from a boy as bright as you, Joel perfect grades seem like Wednesday, and Bianca has a new competition." He smiled at his beloved name. Weems caught that smile. "I'm sure she will be delighted by seeing you." "I hope so too." The door was opened. A girl stepped into the room, bright smile with fangs. Blue and pink tips dyed at the end of her blonde hair, with light scars on her face. "Howdy." Enid Sinclair, werewolf, and I'm going to be showing you around. Enid trailed off, not knowing the boy's name. Joel caught in quickly. Joel Glicker. His hand stretched out, ready to shake her hand, but instead the girl entrapped him in a hug. Welcome to Nevermore, Joel. He accepted the hug. Enid was always happy to make new friends and meet new people. This is Enid. She will be your tour guide for today, showing you your classes, dorms, and our outside activities in the school. Joel nodded. He and Enid stood at the door. Mr. Addams, hey, how are you? Enid waved enthusiastically at her best friend's father. Instead, he hugged her. She always liked Wednesday's family and how much they loved each other. She wished she could say the same. Enid spoke up. Are you here to see Wednesday? I can go grab her for you? The Atom only shook his head. Call me Gomez. Me Lupa and no send her my love. I was only delivering a gift. Oh, all right. I'll see you soon, Mr. Gomez. I'll tell Wednesday you said hello. Then Enid and Joel started their tour. Joel liked the school because it was very taken care of and had many attractions. He loved the library and what they called the quad. Enid and him were striking up conversation as they walked. So, Joel, did you always have powers? Joel shook his head, remembering how Wednesday's grandma made a potion for him because he wanted to know how Wednesday felt about him. So he chose the power of truth. He remembered the second he drank it. The taste was revolting, grimacing at the thought. No, I didn't. My girlfriend's family is a tad bit magical? That's not a good word for it. Maybe creepy. Enid grinned at the new gossip. A girlfriend, you say? Oh, when did you meet? Enid waited for his response, the boy smiling at the memory. We met years ago, as kids at Camp Chippewa. She was ravishing. Her eyes are as dark as the sky on a starry night. Enid watches as the boy tells her about his girlfriend. She listens to it all. The boy was in love. Enid could see it in his eyes. She sounds lovely, she says with a smile. He nods excitedly. She is breathtaking, he says ironically, as he takes a sharp intake of his inhaler. Enid and Joel finish the tour, and by the end of it, he's exhausted. He remembers Enid said his dorm was on the other side of the school. He made his way there, turning the lock. Xavier was sitting on his chair, spinning slightly to the left and right. He was currently drawing something. The corner of his eye caught something or someone. He shoved the drawing into his desk. Joel stepped into the room, eyebrows raised in amusement. Hey, man! Hi, it's Xavier. You must be Joel. They look at each other, and Joel gives a complex nod as he inhales his inhaler, shaking hands. Xavier almost flinches. You're strong, man. Thank you. I have questions about the timing here. Yeah, what's up? Joel grins. The sky. The artist groans at the lame joke. Joel knows if Wednesday were here, she would have rolled her pretty raven black eyes. Xavier could see what Enid was talking about when she said he was nerdy, but he reminded him of Eugene a little. The joke was just awful. Dude, don't ever say that joke again. They laughed, and they found that they liked each other a bit after talking. Speaking of talking, the girls, Wednesday, Enid, Yoko, Davina, and Bianca, sit in Yoko's room on the beds. Enid dragged Wednesday along to Yoko's room to fill them in about the new boy. Enid, I've already told you more than once. I have no interest in knowing about the new boy. The goth said in a monotone voice. Wens, I know he's so cute, but you all should know he has a girlfriend. And he's so down bad for her. Down bad? Wednesday asked in confusion. She didn't understand the lingo they spoke with. It made no sense, and almost every time meant something ridiculous. Pup, you have to remember we have an Addams in our presence who refuses to use technology, Yoko says, leaning back on her girlfriend's chest, Davina's head on Yoko's shoulder. Wednesday rolls her eyes, and the girls laugh. Down bad means, like he would do nothing for her. The way he describes her is as if she is the light of his life. Well, maybe dark. He likes using metaphors of her being the moon, and him being the stars that are in her eyes. The girls swoon. Wednesday rolls her eyes again. Oh, he sounds adorable. His girlfriend is lucky to have him. Enid nods. Oh, I almost forgot. When's? Cease to calling me that. Enid ignores that. Your dad sends his love. I saw him early today, and he said he was just dropping off a surprise. Wednesday's eyebrows raised slightly. Father knows I hate surprises. Enid shrugs her shoulders with a smile. He was in a good mood. It probably will make you happy. Happy? Addams doesn't do happy. Bianca says in a joking manner. The siren and the seer have grown a very fresh friendship. Wednesday would never admit it, though. He said nothing else. Was he grinning or smiling? Wednesday was asking questions as if she was trying to solve a murder. Nothing else but sending his love to you. Enid says while she eats chips. Wednesday has a look. Enid, do not talk with your mouth full. Enid scoffs down more chips. Yoko laughing at her getting in trouble. Things scurrying across the floor into Wednesday's lap. Tap, tap, tap. Wednesday watched Thing intensely. Before nodding her head and standing on her feet, Enid frowned. Where are you going? Wednesday turns her head. Mother is calling me from our crystal ball. Thing says it's important. I will meet you all at dinner. She spins on her heel and leaves without another word. Meanwhile, Xavier and Joel are walking in the hall making their way to Yoko's room. He knocks once before they hear, "Come in!" They open the door and are met with all the girls' eyes on them. Holy hell, he is hot, Davina says. Yoko slaps her girlfriend on the arm. Ow, I'm being honest. Joel takes in the sight of all the women around him, and he intakes his inhaler. Hello, everyone. He greets them with a nervous smile. Don't be nervous, Joel. This is Yoko, Davina, and Bianca. Sup? Hey. Hi, the trio of girls says to the boy. Yoko flashes a fang with a big grin. I've heard you have a girlfriend. She notices the way his eyes brighten when she mentions her. Yes, I do. She goes here. She's the reason I am here. Enid and the girls squeal. Why haven't you mentioned that before? Enid hits his shoulder lightly. Joe shrugs. I didn't think it was relevant at the time, but I cannot wait to see her. They all start walking out the door. Dude, you have to point her out in the cafeteria. Joel nods his head. She stands out, not hard to miss her. Are you dating someone, Xavier? Bianca scoffs. If he ever gets over that goth. Xavier rolls his eyes. No, I'm not dating anyone. I have a crush on someone right now. Yoko laughs out loud. A crush? You want to shove your tongue down her throat. Enid nods as she says, You think we don't see you staring, Xavier. It's getting weird. They make their way to their table. In the middle of the quad. Wednesday makes her way to the quad holding her tray of food. Her face as blank as it always is. Enid waves her down. Wens, come sit. Enid practically yells. Wednesday walks to them. Joel's heartbeat speeds as he hears the love of his life's voice. Enid, must you be so loud I'm only a couple of feet away from you? I'm sorry. I wanted to introduce you to Enid's sentence was cut short. As the plate from the goth's hands fell to the ground, her jaw was slack. Eyes widened at the sight. Everyone in the quad snapped their head in the direction of the noise. When they realized it was Wednesday, most of them looked away. He smiled at the sight of her. She looked breathtaking. Her dark braids, as he remembered, were now longer, and she was slightly taller, her dark eyes staring into his soul. He stepped closer to her, Cara Mia, his hand caressing her face, the atom blinking multiple times to make sure she was seeing correctly. J. Joel? The goth stutters out. The group shatters into a million pieces. Chapter 2. Boyfriend. First, Enid was pretty sure her eyes fell out of her head. There was no way Wednesday Addams was letting Joel touch her, let alone caress her face, calling her a pet name she doesn't know, when it practically took forever for her to get herself one hug. Xavier's face fell at the sight. Wednesday was in shock, something they never see on her face often. Joel brought his hand to Wednesday's face, caressing it lightly. He wants to lose a finger? Davina whispers. Bianca's eyes widen. Wait, the siren says. Wednesday leans into his hand. The group all watch in shock. Joel has a big smile on his face. He brings her hand to his lips, planting kisses on her knuckles, palm, and slightly up her wrist. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me, he says, kissing her palm. He caresses the bangs out her face. You grew bangs. his grin only getting wider at the sight of her. Wednesday's voice was caught in her throat. She never expected to see him again, not after Camp Chippewa, as she kissed said boy through the fence, leaving him behind in the smoke. When he lifted his head, she barely recognized him. He looked older, taller. He was a foot taller than her, his dark brown curls longer than before. His nose was sharper, his tightly rimmed glasses hanging off his nose. He pushes them up. Wednesday looks him in the eyes. Sauce. The world freezes. Raven black eyes meets brown. The quad filled with kids forgotten, as Wednesday steps back, as he steps closer. Wednesday! Little explanation on how you know Joel. Enid screamed. Wednesday notices all eyes are on the them. She quickly sits down her back to them. Joel takes a sharp intake of his inhaler as the group sit down at the table. He sits next to Wednesday, shoulder to shoulder, thigh to thigh. The group watches as Joel just stares at Wednesday. Joel, would you mind explaining this to us? Xavier practically yells. Joel is tracing patterns on Wednesday's arm. Black is my favorite color. I'm sorry, did you say something? Yoko and Davina laugh. Enid looks at them, showing a not the time. Joel doesn't even realize anyone is there. He's staring at Wednesday, grinning. You complete me, Cara Mia. Wednesday turns her head to meet his eyes. He backs up slightly, his face heating go up. He takes his inhaler to his mouth, sucking in air. This is obviously a joke. The siren says. The group stood to the side. Enid shakes her head. Wednesday wouldn't prank us like this. Joel touched her. Not to mention she has no sense of humor and doesn't have time to waste on us. Bianca mutters matter-of-factly. Eugene shakes Enid's shoulders. Enid, look! What? The group of outcasts turn their head just in time to see Wednesday smile at him. Holy shit! Just when I thought she couldn't get any more prettier. The artist said. Wednesday was staring at Joel with a smile, but what really grabs their attention is that the goth was blinking. Joel lifts her chin. Mi amor, I have came for you, he says with a bright smile. Wednesday only stares at him. You've gotten new glasses. She talks for the first time in a while, trailing her black nails to his chiseled chin, caressing only for a second. He takes a sharp inhale, using his inhaler. Mon cher Wednesday, whispers softly to the boy. His face reddens. Bianca bursts out laughing. Okay, Joel, how much did she pay you? $15? No, let me guess, 20. Everyone looked at Bianca. What? There's no way Addams has a boyfriend, especially not him. No offense, but he looks like a loser, and Addams is Addams. I agree with Bianca. Xavier nods his head. How come we never heard about him? Wednesday is big on privacy and doesn't like people in her business, Davina says. But it seems as if Wednesday and Joel aren't even listening. Father sent you. We drove here from home. I wanted to surprise you. I don't like surprises. Joel laughs out loud. Enid tugs on Wednesday's arm. She eyes Joel. Wednesday nods her head at Enid. Joel eyes Enid's hands. Excuse us, Joel. He nods, kisses her hand. Enid shakes her head. We all want to speak with you. The she-wolf says. The goth nods. Joel, leave us be. The boy visibly frowns. I've just seen you, Cara Mia. They've been with you all year. Wednesday glares at him. He doesn't falter. You don't scare me, honey. He smiles. Very well. Joel, grab a lunch tray and come back in 5 inches, Wednesday says. He nods, turning in his heel, leaving. Enid drags Wednesday to the table. The whole friend group looking at her. Who in the hell was that Addams? Yoko says first. Wednesday says with a blank expression. My boyfriend. Since when do you have a boyfriend? Enid shouts. I'm finding this hard to believe, Addams. You're the queen of darkness. You liking someone seems unbelievable. Bianca says. I don't like him. I think he's revolting. He makes my stomach feel as if there are thousands of spiders in there. Wednesday says with satisfaction. Enid then remembers something. You're the girl he was talking about. Enid squells. That's so adorable. Wednesday isn't that damn sweet. He explained that girl like a saint. Yoko says, sipping on an O-negative blood bag. How come you have a boyfriend but you lead me on? Xavier says, making it about him. Wednesday faces curls up in disgust. Never have I once lead you on. You follow me around like a lost puppy and whine when I reject your love towards me. You're lucky you aren't 6 feet under right now. You would have done it already. Wednesday, Xavier says. Wednesday smirks slightly. Who said it would be me doing it? Okay, if you aren't joking, when did you guys meet? Bianca asked. Wednesday rolls her eyes. We met at camp. He was very uncanny. We both got into some trouble and they tortured us. Holy hell, what did they do? Yoko asks, sitting up. They made us watch Disney movies. Wednesday winces at the thought. The girls laugh. How is that funny? Of course you'd say that about a Disney movie, Enid says with a smile. Then it gets wiped off. How come you've never told me about him? The goth shrugs, something she never does. You never asked me about who I was romantically seeing, so I've never brought it up. Wednesday says. You don't think it's important to mention. What about Tyler? I was just using him to solve the mystery. Just like Thorpe, he has no brain and doesn't think for his own. She says, okay, let's say this is real. I'm still having a hard time believing it. Tell us how you guys fell in love. Bianca notices Wednesday tense. Shouldn't be a problem, right? I'm not. A arm wraps around Wednesday's waist. She looks back, a hand in her waist holding her knife. She goes to slice the hand. The hand grips her wrist, grabbing the knife. The group watches as the boy takes the knife from Wednesday, as if he expected it. It's been about 7 minutes. I'd like to speak with you, Ness. Joel puts the knife back in her waist. He faces her friends. Don't worry. Not a single cut, not even some scratches. Joel, right? The boy in glasses nods. You love Wednesday here? The siren asked. With my whole being. Have you heard her laugh? Her smile? You'd be in love as well. Joel stares at Wednesday adoringly. Bianca stares. No, we haven't actually. Wednesday doesn't ever smile, nor laugh. Perhaps you're looking for someone else? Joel shakes his head. No, I'm pretty sure. This is my Wednesday. Xavier glares. Well, we've never heard of you. Until today, Joel. Joel raises his eyebrows. He steps forward, leaving Wednesday behind. I thought we were friends, Xavier. Why the mood change? He looks at Wednesday. He then frowns sarcastically. Did she break your heart? Don't worry. She broke mine too once. He puts his hand on Xavier's shoulder. This is fake. Wednesday wouldn't date you. Look at you, man. Xavier says. Wednesday only watches as Xavier stalks toward the boy. Won't stick up for your boyfriend, Addams. Before Bianca can finish her sentence, Wednesday has a dagger straight at Xavier's neck. Take one more step, I'll shove this into your neck and watch you choke on your own blood. The dark Addams said, the whole lunchroom taking a sharp inhale. Joel rests his chin on Wednesday's shoulder. He takes an intake of his inhaler, hands completely wrapped around her waist. You wow me, mi amor. Wednesday fights the blush she feels coming to her cheeks. Everyone, if you wish to speak on this subject, I'll be in the dorm. The goth, turning on her heel and walks off. Joel watches her. Joel, come along. Love calls. I will see you guys later. Joel pushes his glasses up and follows after Wednesday. This is a fucking prank. Right, guys? Bianca says nobody says a word. Davina shakes her head. Only time I saw Wednesday threatening someone like that, it was Tyler on the end of it. Well, me too. The normies who used to bully me, they don't anymore. The beekeeper says, used to? What made them stop? Enid asked. They watched as Eugene sat up eating as if it were hard to say. Wednesday cut the brakes on their bikes. One count stop and hit a pole. The other, he hit a car. Fuck. Holy shit. Addams didn't get arrested? The queen bee asked. Eugene shook his head. They couldn't prove it was her. I believe her. The group head snapped to Davina. She sipping on a juice box. Davina looks up to see them all staring. What? Wednesday wouldn't go this far into pranking us. She probably doesn't even know what that means. And besides, she was letting him touch her. Is that not a big green flag? She lets him touch her? Div, you are so right. Wens wouldn't let anyone touch her. For a sake of a prank or not. The bright werewolf says. Xavier is still shook and angry. Well, if it's real, let's go back to you and Wednesday's dorm and speak with her. The artist says, "Them? What? You said her. Joel is there too." Yoko says with a devilish grin, "You're jealous of her boyfriend." Yoko shakes her head with a laugh. Xavier huffs, "Babe, not the time." Davina hits her girlfriend's shoulder. Yoko slows down her laughing. "You're right, let us go and check up on Mr. and Mrs. Addams." They all get up. Xavier rolls his eyes. They make their way to the dorms. Chapter 3. Whoa, what a day. Joel practically was on her tail as they made it to her room. Wednesday threw the door open. Joel stepping in, closing it behind him. Wednesday was face to face with him now. Face to face. Alone. "Mon cher," the goth says to the boy in the glasses. He has his hands playing with her left braid. He leans down to kiss her. Wednesday face reddens. She leans back. You are... Why must you wound me, mi amor?" Joel whines as the girl pulls away from the kiss. He still smiles, though. "How come you haven't told your friends about me? Or was it a surprise for them as well?" The group stood outside the door. Enid with her wolf hearing. Listening in. "What's going on?" Yoko asks. "It's silent," Enid says. "They're probably kissing." Davina says. Yoko fucky gags. "Wait," Joel said. "How come you haven't told your friends about me? I thought you were dead." She hears Wednesday whisper loudly, "You're supposed to be dead." Enid says, as she listens to the words being said by the young couple. They're arguing. Xavier says. Eugene waits uncomfortably long for the blonde's answer. "This proves they're together, though." Davina says. "Please, Addams just said he's supposed to be dead." Bianca said. "That's probably just her flirting. Besides, it's Wednesday. It would be weird if she was nice." Davina mutters out. They all shudder at the thought of Wednesday being sweet. "You wanted to scare me off and you couldn't. I will be by your side forever, and nothing can stop me. Not even the cute scowls you throw my way." Joel says, taking steps towards her. Wednesday holding a firm glare at the boy. He was taller than her. Towing over her, his hands pulling at the collar of her shirt. A devilish grin along his face. "You're soft." Enid reciting word after word. The group grimaces as he calls the goth soft. But yet she says nothing. "I am no such thing." The goth says. Joel moves her bangs out of her eye, staring into her dark eyes. Wednesday was glaring daggers at the boy. "My attempt to kill you was not successful. But now I have a better chance to do so. How did you find my father?" "Wasn't hard. My love, you've lived in the same house for years. You left me at the smoked camp. My heart in your hands, you could have taken me with you. But you left, crushing it in your palm. For that I admire sadism. Oh, cara mia, you have no idea what you do to me." His hand on her waist, pulling her to him. Wednesday has a slight smirk on her face from him getting his heart broken. The group is shocked at the confession. What if they know? Xavier is cut off by Bianca. They are definitely together, or maybe exes. The way they talk confuses me. Bianca rubs her temple. He gets her. It's kinda adorable. Enid says, listening in. She hears Wednesday speak up. "I pity you, Joel. Did my father have you practice that speech? Or is it as pathetic as the love you claim you have for me?" Joel steps back. "Holy shit. I think Wednesday just broke his heart." Enid says, "Tell us. What's going on?" Yoko whispers loudly. Enid has her left ear in the door. She just said she pities him. And his love is pathetic. That's cold. Even for Addams. Bianca says. "Wait." Enid hears shuffling. And then they all hear a laugh echoing from the room. "Was it hard?" He chucked out in between laughter. "Was what hard?" The Addams asks. "You trying to sit here and act as if you don't love me too?" Joel takes his claim. In front of her again. "You push me away. I'm not stupid." "You are incredibly stupid," the goth says. "You flatter me. Ness, you've been flirting with me this whole time. Give a man a break." Joel says. Wednesday rolls her eyes. "Roll them again. They'll get stuck." "Good. I wouldn't have to see your face." Wednesday says. They glare at each other. More of Wednesday glares at him. Look who has nothing to say now, Ness. I've missed you. And after you tried to scare me to death. I didn't try. I did. Your heart stopped beating. But yet it still beats for you. Pathetic. Tell me we're just friends. Wednesday, Enid recite the words to the group. She awaits the goth's response. Then I'd suppose I'd be lying. You complete me. In a disgusting way, I promise to never end up like my parents, but somehow you unravel me before my very eyes. Make a scene like that again. I'll shove my dagger down your throat. How lovely you've confessed your love for me. Now I have a challenge to propose to you. Propose? Enid says, only hearing the ending of his sentence. They all snap their eyes to Enid, all saying in union, propose. They hear the words, Wednesday, Friday. Addams, will you? They burst through the door. Enid falling, Yoko and Davina tripping over her, Bianca and Xavier on their backs, and Eugene slipping, but Wednesday catching him. Hello, Wednesday says blankly. He's proposing to you. Enid screams. Joel is scratching his head, face flushed. Wednesday has a blank stare, but her friends. Joel snorts. What is funny, Glicker? This is serious shit. He was proposing a challenge, Wednesday stated. The group dressed, rushing to their feet. They stood awkwardly. How long have you all been standing there? Like 5 minutes. We just got here. We were about to knock. All of them tried to explain themselves. Wednesday snapped her fingers twice. They all stopped talking. Eugene, how long have you all been standing out there? Her dark eyes staring at him, the group pleading with him to lie. But Wednesday was his friend. Since he said you haven't said nothing to us. The young boy stutters out. Wednesday nods. She faces Enid. I'm rubbing off on you, Enid. You make me so very proud. Wednesday's monotone voice says. If Enid was in her wolf form, her tail would be wagging. I couldn't help it. You're around me 24/7. And by the way, you and Joel are totes adorable. Wednesday scowls at the word. I am not adorable. A grimace on her face. Joel shakes his head. He leans his head in her head. Cute, maybe, Joel says. He fixes his glasses. Do you have a death wish? The goth grumbles out. At the hands of you, my love, slaughter me. Joel says. Wednesday doesn't say anything, leaving the group to stare. So Joel and Wednesday, I like how it sounds, Yoko says, her shades on the ridge of her nose. Enid squeals. Y'all are really cute. Davina says. Matter-of-factly, Xavier still wasn't giving up. Whoa, you said you met at camp? What's the story behind that? Xavier asks. Please tell us how you guys fell in love. Once again they see Wednesday tense. Joel has a grin on his face. Habas, Chapter 4. Whoa, what a story. The day was perfect in Wednesday's eyes, which meant that she already had her chosen poison ready. Camp Chippewa. She was already bored and she hadn't done anything yet. She was already plotting. The squawking of the annoying blonde, Amanda, was like nails on a chalkboard to her. She wanted to go home and clean her steam-powered guillotine, or even feed Pugsley to the kraken in the lake. Her dark eyes scanned the sky and trees. Her eyes landed on something. She then blinked. Never inside the brain of Wednesday Addams has there ever been thought of something so foul. Boys. She stared at the curly-headed boy. He was breathing in sharply through his inhaler, both parents on each arm. He had on a plaid button-up with well-rounded glasses. His eyes met her dark ones. The air was struck from his body. He lowered the inhaler after one more sharp inhale, and he stared back. Never has he seen a girl so beautiful. He must have been dreaming, or a nightmare the way the girl looked. The girl stared at him with a glint in her eye. She then blinked twice more, before turning her direction to her parents. He wanted to know her name, favorite color, and soul. His parents rubbed his back and kept speaking, but his mind was foggy, and he only thought of the little girl. As the day became even more difficult, the kids began to settle down. The Addams and Joel found themselves on the stage of Camp Chippewa staring at everyone else practicing for the play. Wednesday was not doing whatever the hell they claimed to be doing. Joel only cared for what Wednesday thought, and if she wasn't, he wasn't either. Wednesday blew the counselors off, and told them how terrible the play was, and how she wouldn't even do it if the world was ending? Sa, even if she wasn't that lucky, no matter how odd, or pale, or chubby, can still have a darn good time. The woman counselor yelped, then her voice got lower, whether they like it or not. Joel was nervous now. What are you going to do? Joel questioned. That's how Wednesday, Pugsley, and Joel found themselves in the middle of the woods, in a wooden cabin watching Disney movies. Pugsley wasn't one to point anything out, but he could tell how smitten Wednesday was with Joel. She hasn't stabbed him once, nor dug him a grave. I'm Joel. He said he sat side by side with Wednesday, and he could smell her. She smelt of ink and dead roses. He wanted to touch her hair. Would she let him? Wednesday looked at him. She'd rather stare at him than the TV screen. The Little Mermaid was playing, and she could feel her eyes burning from watching the Disney movie. He was different somehow. Addams. Wednesday Addams, the pale girl said. She stared at him. Why are you itching? Do you have a skin disease? And if so, is it contagious? Oh, I want a skin disease. Does it peel the skin off your bones? Pugsley asked as he faced Joel. Joel stared at the two pale-faced kids and was confused about their questions. I don't have a skin disease. I'm allergic to basically everything. I have this inhaler and EpiPen in my bag, Joel said once again with his inhaler in hand. Wednesday nodded, taking in the information. What happens if you don't take your EpiPen? The goth girl questioned. She was interested and she had no allergies. Besides colors, blues specifically. Other colors usually broke her skin out in rashes, and she would itch all day until Grandmama gave her medicine. I'm going to stop you there, Xavier said, cutting Joel off. This seems like some backstory leading up to it. Tell us exactly when you guys so-called fell in love. Everyone agreed. Well, not everyone. I kinda want to hear everything, Eugene said. Davina agreed also. But don't you guys want to get to the juicy part? Yoko says, bouncing in her seat. If you weren't so eager, you'd like to hear the whole story. Okay, I will skip to what you guys are so excited to hear about, Joel said, as he leaned back and slipped back into the important part of the story. Joel watched as Wednesday threw her leg over the fence and climbed over, landing on her two black boots. Wednesday faced him, and she silently said, Come on. The smoke was engulfing the air, and Joel couldn't have thought she could look any better. No, I have to go back for the others. You're very brave, the monotone voice said. To watch the place burn, Joel said. Wednesday never thought she could hear something so beautiful. You need to go save your uncle. At that moment, she knew he wouldn't come with her. She didn't want to leave without him. She'd never admit it, though. Wednesday didn't even realize I was her voice, because she said it so soft. Joel, I may never see you again. I know. Joel said he didn't want to hear of it. He knew that already. But Wednesday saying it made it feel more real. As their eyes gazed into each other's, his glasses lenses shone in the moonlight. Wednesday's eyes, which are usually unblinking, are fluttering in the dark. Forces are tearing us apart. Wednesday started. Gary, Debbie, 7th grade. She shuddered. A 7th grade. Joel would have laughed. Could have, but he knew she was leaving him. He took the hat off his head and dropped it to the ground. I'll never forget you. He searched her eyes for anything. Wednesday almost burst with horror. She almost smiled at the curly-headed boy. You won't. You're too weird. Thank you. Wednesday says, I prefer spooky. Joel chuckles at that. Well, always have today. Camp Chippewa. Joel lifted his right hand. Wednesday raised an eyebrow slightly. You'd have to be not even an inch away from her to notice it. Joel did. He always did. What is it? Amanda's retainer. There had to be love in the air tonight. The retainer dropped from his hands. Cara mia, mon cher. They both leaned forward, the fence still in between the two. But that wouldn't stop them. Joel watched Wednesday for as long as he could before he shut his eyes. Two lips were pressed together through the metal fence. The kiss was light and soft, and very quick. Wednesday pulled away, and they both stared at each other, before they both raised their hands to wipe their lips. Wednesday couldn't believe she'd kissed a boy. Even though it was through the fence of Camp Chippewa, it kind of reminded her of how filthy the fence was. She wanted Joel to come with her. It probably wasn't possible, but she could try. He wouldn't get away. Bright headlights were blinding the two of them. The van stopped and the tinted window opened to reveal. Pugsley had one arm hanging out of the van. He was bumping loud music. He lifted his head out of the window. "Let's go!" he yelled. He watched Joel and Wednesday, and he knew that something happened between them. He had to admit they were pretty cute. Wednesday got into the car, slamming the door. She sat back into the seat and sighed. Pugsley pulled off. He realized his sister's eyes were still on the boy as they drove off. Joel already felt his heart pull from his chest as he watched the van drive off into the darkness. After that, "I have no idea how she found me," Joel says while staring at Wednesday fondly. The girls watch them in awe. "That's so cute." Enid squeals and shakes Wednesday's arm. "Wednesday's it happened. How come you've never told me? You've never asked. I regret my decision to this day," Wednesday says, her voice flat. Bianca rolls her eyes. "You don't regret that. If you did, he wouldn't be here." Wednesday looks at her. This is the first time they've seen her face with any sort of emotion other than anger. She looks offended. I wasn't talking about meeting Joel, although that was something entirely different," she says with a deep inhale at the end. "I'm talking about the kiss. The fence was very disgusting and makes me wonder why we did that in the first place. Because you love me and can't resist my charm," Joel jokes. Wednesday stares at him with those dark eyes, reminding him of that night at camp. "My obsession for you knows no bounds." Wednesday stares into his soul. He takes her hand, flips it to her palm. He kisses her palm, then her finger, then another, and another, until he's kissing up her arm, across her shoulder to her face. Wednesday stares at him lovingly. "Mi vida," Joel traces her jaw with his finger. "Tu as l'air affreux, mon corbeau," he says, leaning forward. The whole room was forgotten. It felt as if it were only them in the room, but they weren't. Xavier clears his throat, successfully knocking them out of their trance. "They are so cute," Enid says while she smiles, flashing a fang. "I've never seen Addams that way. Way to be your parents," Bianca says. Wednesday looks at her with her normal, neutral look and tone. "I am not my parents," Wednesday says. But how can they take her seriously when Joel is still kissing her palm? "I know I'm not the only one questioning the rest of the story," Yoko said, leaning back into Davina's arms. "That's it. It doesn't explain how you're here together today." "Right, that can't be all." Enid agrees with Yoko. Eugene nodded his head, just silently engaging in the conversation. Xavier was just plain angry. Still doesn't make sense. Bianca rolls her eyes at her ex-boyfriend. How in the hell did she like him? Joel turns his eyes from Wednesday. "The other part is because Wednesday found me. If you want to know, then she'll have to tell us the rest." Joel leaned back into Wednesday's shoulder, grinning at her. "Wens, tell us please," Enid begs. Wednesday wasn't about to tell them everything, but being around Joel pulled her to do so. "That doesn't mean she didn't fight it." "I won't be saying anything. You've just been told enough," she said plainly and straightforwardly. "Oh, come on, Addams. Tell us the rest. You can't just lead us on," Bianca says, everyone agreeing with her. Enid and Yoko are huddling together. Yoko looked at Wednesday. "If you don't tell us, you'll wish you did." The pale girl raised her eyebrows slightly. "Are you threatening me?" "If so, I am impressed." "What?" "No, I love my life. You aren't going to stake me over this shit." Yoko shakes her head. "If you don't, Enid will cry. You know I'm an ugly crier." Enid butts in. "And it will be ugly and loud, and I'll have snot on my face." Wednesday grimaces at the vision. "You are quite the ugly crier," Wednesday said. "So please, please tell us," Enid says. She then pulls out the puppy's eyes. Wednesday could act all rough and emotionless, but she couldn't handle Enid's eyes. "Fine. One condition. If you cut me off, you will not hear the rest of it." Everyone agrees eagerly. They all lean back, getting ready to hear the rest of the story. "It was the night of my brother, Pooh Bear's first birthday party." "So, you are quite the ugly crier," Wednesday said. So please, please tell us. Enid says. She then pulls out the puppy's eyes. Wednesday could act all rough and emotionless, but she couldn't handle Enid's eyes. Fine. One condition. If you cut me off, you will not hear the rest of it. Everyone agrees eagerly. They all lean back, getting ready to hear the rest of the story. It was the night of my brother, Pooh Bear's first birthday party. So,